Hey everyone, Cadian Sergeant Steele here, and today I want to talk to you about my favorite unit, the Cadian Shock Troops. Alright, so what we have is the Cadian Shock Troops. So this is the new kit that we got from Games Workshop and it came out in 9th edition, and I really just absolutely love the models. I was worried at first with the detail level when they came out, and I thought they were going to take longer to paint, and lo and behold, they haven't. And I've actually really enjoyed them and painted a lot of them up at my typical pace. So, and I've actually enjoyed it a little bit more because they have less flat surfaces than the older models. But we're here to talk about the unit and the unit data card and its abilities and the strategy and tactics I recommend around this unit. So let's talk about what it is first. So this is a battle line troop option that is, has grenades and regiment and platoon, Cadian shock troops and Cadian keywords, along with infantry. So that's very important for all the various characters and also abilities that we can use with these. And I'm sure it'll be important later for when we get a codex for these amazing models. So let's talk about their unit profile real quick. They are movement 6, toughness 3, 5-up save, with 1 wound apiece, leadership 7, and 2 objectives secured. That is one of my favorite parts of these models, is that 2 OC. Because, as I'll explain in a moment, the tactics that I use with these makes them virtually impossible to overtake on an objective without nearly wiping them out. So now that we discussed the unit profile and we understand the basics about this datasheet, let's talk about loadout and the weapons that this unit can take. Now, you have 2 options for your sergeant. Either you can take your las pistol and chainsword, or you can take your drum-fed autogun. I model almost all of mine with drum-fed autoguns, and the reason being, rule of cool. Honestly, both of them have their pros and cons, and I just prefer the drum-fed autogun because I mostly go with extra shooting, which you get less shots with the las pistol, but you get better melee attacks. So that's just the way I run those. Next thing is you can take a Voxcaster. I usually put one in every unit because it has a couple benefits. You can use it for your ordnance stratagem that we have in the Astra Militarum, or it actually has a warrior ability. Each time you target the bear's unit with a stratagem, roll a d6, adding 1 to the result if there's 1 or more friendly officer models within 6 inches. On a 5+, you gain 1 CP. So if you have an officer in the unit or nearby, you use your Voxcaster ability. On a 4-up, you can get a CP back. And quite honestly, if you don't have an officer nearby to your infantry, then probably the only thing they're doing is holding an objective or trying to advance to one hidden in a corner. I often always have some type of officer with my infantry or very close by, and just in case I need to take advantage of using that CP regain on the unit. That's really great. Now, next thing is all the special weapons. I prefer a flamer and a grenade, and a melt-a-gun. And you can take one of these, or 2 special weapons, but no more than 1 of each, for every 10 models. So what that looks like at 20 models, like I'm showing here, is I have 2 flamers, 2 meltas. So I can't take, I can take 1 or 2 special weapons for every 10, but no more than 1 of each for every 10. And since I have 20, I can take 2 meltas and 2 flamers. Now we also have the grenade launcher, the plasma, and the plasma gun. That's it. So we have 4 special weapon choices, plus the Voxcaster and the drum-fed autogun or las pistol and chainsword for your sergeant. So that's what we can look at that there. One other thing I just want to mention, we have a good selection of models even outside the regular infantry kit. So right here I have Arminka Lesk as a white shield who's hanging out with my troopers. So counts as a great option for one of your models here and can swap out when you're not running certain special weapons. Or then that can allow you to convert another special weapon into your squad by using this model to fill in for the extra las gun if you needed it. So that's our war gear options. It's pretty basic on this unit, nothing too crazy. So let's talk about their abilities. So outside of war gear abilities, what sets the shock troops apart is one single ability, and I think it is really good, and I will explain why. Shock troops. At the end of your command phase, if this unit is within range of an objective marker you control, that objective marker remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it, until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. So that's very important. So basically you have to wait till your opponent takes it before you lose control of it. You have sticky objectives. These units have sticky objectives. They get on it, they hold it, you don't lose it until your opponent physically takes it. Now, there's a few strategies around that, and I just want to stress which is why this unit is so good. Let's get to that in just a second, because I want to talk about real quick all the things you can take with your infantry squad. With most Astra Militarum infantry units, you can attach up to 2 leaders. This makes the Astra Militarum different from almost every other army in the game. So we can attach up to 2 leaders, but never more than 1 command squad. That is on purpose so you can't just stack up a bunch of bodies, right? Because they have 5 models plus the regimental attaches plus the bodyguards, the ogre bodyguards, I mean. And with that, you could put a lot of wounds into a single unit and make it super resilient. So what you can do though, if I can pick it up here. And so as you can see, I'm using my movement trays here. You can take a Cadian command squad, right? You could take a Cadian Castellan. You could take a Commissar, or a Tech Priest, or a Psyker, or a Regimental Preacher, or Ursula Creed, or Leontis. Any of these leaders can attach to Cadian shock troops. That is a huge selection that you can choose from. That also means you have a lot of different tactics and strategies that you can build with this. Now, honestly, I never put the Tech Priest with them. I just put the Tech Priest near vehicles to give it lone operative. But you could, if you wanted to give it more protection, like if you knew precision was a heavy thing in the game, then you could take your Tech Priest. But I don't. You could take your Commissar. He's not useless. That's my opinion. I will talk about him in his own video. I do recommend your Cadian Castellan. I do recommend your Cadian command squads. Those are my preferences. You could take the Regimental Preacher. I do not. You could take the Psyker, and I do want to keep this around to talk about it. Creed is always a phenomenal choice, and I would never tell you not to take Creed. I typically don't, just because I don't like to run named characters. That's just a preference I have. And Leontis is also good, but I don't typically take my Leontis in my lists. So he's a beautiful model, but I like just playing a different style. So I'm going to give you my tactics and strategies now for this unit. Let's go to my core of it real quick. What I typically do is attach a Cadian Castellan and a Cadian command squad to a 20-man unit of Cadian shock troops. Now, why do I do this? First is because the banner, if you're taking your regimental banner, will give you +1 objective controlled characteristic. Now remember, we're talking about the datasheet. They have OC2, so now they are OC3. That also does another important thing. If they do become battle shocked, as the rules are currently written, this would also allow you to, no matter what, be at OC1, because first you change a characteristic to 0, and then you do your pluses and minuses. So this would make it turn it back to a 1. But that's the other thing the Cadian command squad does is no characteristic, roll, or test can be modified if you don't want it to be. So when you go battle shocked, you might lose the ability to use stratagems on the unit, but you will not drop your objective secured. You will not drop your objective control characteristics, so you will still be OC3 with a Cadian command squad in these. So what you're looking at right here is 72 objective controlled points. Who's going to challenge that? They're not. They're going to have to take you off the objective. And remember, your bodyguard unit will die first, leaving these alive, so whatever you have left will constantly be buffed by your characters unless they're taken out with precision. Now, next thing that's super important, we have the medic here, right? So your medic gives you a 6-up feel no pain. That makes them just a little bit more resilient, and that's very important, right? That can allow your units to stick around longer and fight in the game. Now, it's only a 1 in 6, but when you get 20 guys in a unit, that can really make a difference. Okay, so now they're higher objective controlled. They have a 6-up feel no pain. They are protecting your order issuing units and your Master Voxcaster here. So you're able to issue orders up to 24 inches away. Then you add in the Castellan. So the Castellan gives you sustained hits. Gives all the ranged weapons in the unit sustained hits. That is called the Senior Officer ability. So it's sustained hits 1. And that's just any ranged weapon. So that could be the Meltagun. That could be your las guns. That could be your drum-fed auto gun. They all have sustained hits. That's the other thing I love about running double Melta in this, is if I roll a 6, not only could it be lethal if I've stayed still because of our regimental ability or the army ability, but then I'm going to generate additional hits. Also with the las guns, I'm just going to pummel my opponent in shots. It is brutal. And I love that. The other thing the Castellan does is you can fall back and shoot. Wait a minute. So you get sustained hits 1, fall back and shoot, can't have your stats changed or your rolls negatively modified or your tests negatively modified if you don't want them to be, and you get +1 to your OC. This, when you're talking about it, sounds broken. It's not. It comes out in the wash, and it works, and it's balanced. So what do I do with this just craziness? What do I do with this blob here? I do one of 2 things. 3 things, really. First, I start them out on my home objectives, and then I advance them forward. I now control that objective because they controlled it at the start of a turn, at the start of a command phase, right? They had it, so I control it for the rest of the game until my opponent gets to it. Then I screen that out by bubbling my artillery and everything else around it, so my opponent can't deep strike onto it. I also make sure that they're far enough away from the objective that then my opponent can't consolidate into it if I get into melee. So usually at least 6 inches between my unit and the objective. Now, it just depends. If I feel like my opponent might be able to wrap around the unit with their charge, then obviously I need a little more distance, maybe like 6, maybe 7, 8, 9 inches away, so they can't consolidate with their 3-inch consolidate onto the objective. The next thing that I do with this is they're super resilient. So I just run them forward up the battlefield, try to keep them in cover if I can, and I just start taking other objectives. I push in hard and fast immediately with a 20-man blob, and with a 6-up feel no pain, you will be resilient. Now, we can also issue the take cover order, which modifies their save characteristic by 1, giving them a 4-up save. That's not a cover save. That modifies their save characteristic, which means then if you get cover, you are at a 3-up save on this unit with a 6-up feel no pain. That is tasty. That is really good and will give your opponent some heartburn. So they will stick around and they will fight for objectives. The other thing is, obviously, if they get killed, you still hold whatever objectives they had if your opponent can't get models onto those objectives. So you can screen out with your other units, have these guys take and hold the objectives, and you're going to sit pretty peachy. The other thing that I would recommend with this unit, the way this is buffed right here, is that you could just walk onto an objective if there's room, and you will probably out objective control your opponent. Like I said, right here, 72 OC. What is your opponent going to do? What else in this game has that kind of objective control that cannot be lowered? Show me. I actually don't know everything in the game, so seriously, show me if it exists. That just gives you the ability to walk up to something and take it. And I actually did that the other day. I was playing against my friend Jerry. I had a Crassus Armored Transport with this exact unit inside of it, and he had an objective, and I disembarked and we just walked up, and it was mine. It didn't matter. He had a unit of Krieg nearby. He had Sentinels nearby. Didn't matter. If he'd have thrown it all on the objective, wouldn't have mattered. I would have held it. You can run these in 10-man units. I do that from time to time, and when I do that, I usually use these to like get the objectives on the periphery, come in and snag something. Maybe I put them in a chimera and run them up, or maybe they just screen out a little bit in the backfield. But I usually only run about 2 units of 10, but my favorite is 2 units of 20, or I'll do both, 2 units of 20 and 2 units of 10. That's usually my investment. Now, that's a lot of infantry models to paint, so they still work even in 10-man units. They work, I think, even better in 20-man units. You do have to worry about blast. I have not had to worry about that too much. I've had a few opponents who've really wrecked me with it, but that's it, just a couple. So speaking of which, let's talk about another alternative here. Let's take away the Castellan. Boop. Let's add in the Primaris Psyker. The reason you might want to run a Primaris Psyker in this unit is because they have an ability, the Psychic Power, that you can roll a d6. On a 1, you suffer mortal wounds, but on a 2-up, the unit gets a 4-up invulnerable save. You also have the 6 of Feel No Pain. So 4-up invuln, 6-up Feel No Pain, 26 models. That's going to be even harder to shake. Now, you're going to lose the ability to fall back and shoot. You're going to lose your sustained hits, but that's not the point. The point is this unit stays around. The point is this unit is going to be hard to shift, hard to take off objectives, and that's what Cadians are good at. That's what we're good at. We're good at getting the objective and holding the objective when you're buffing it the right way, and nobody's going to challenge you. Nobody's going to come close. They're going to have to fight you. They're going to have to take you out. And then, even if they do, what you should do is you should intimidate them a little bit with the reinforcement stratagem. Just remind them, hey, by the way, you kill all 20 of these, I can just bring them back to life for 2 command points. I just want to put that out there. Maybe you should do something else, right? Maybe you should shoot, I don't know, not a Sentinel either, because they also have that ability. Now, you can't resurrect your characters, or your leaders attached to the unit, but you can resurrect the 20-man blob. And so they can come back and still capture objectives. And they're still decently good at it, even without the character buffs. I think it's definitely worth it for the character buffs, though, for what it does to the 20-man squad of Cadians. So you could do that. Now, the next thing we could do is take Ursula Creed. Okay, that's a fair option, and here's why. Ursula Creed, especially paired with a command squad, she can issue 2 orders. Okay? So that's without using Grand Strategist as an upgrade, which basically makes up for her points because she is more expensive than Cadian Castellan. Then she also gets the ability to, once per battle round, 1 unit from your army within 12 inches of this model, so it could be this unit, could be just any other unit within 12 inches, and a unit from your army can be targeted with a stratagem for 0 CP. Now, with the current balanced data slate, that doesn't count for all stratagems anymore. You can't modify all stratagems costs. I think right now it's battle tactics that we can modify, and that is a number of them. Like Fields of Fire is battle tactics, I believe, and so we can modify that. For 0 CP, you just get an extra AP on your shots. No. AP -1 las guns, I'm all in. I'm all for it, and just delighted. Now, the other thing that Creed does is you can give a unit 2 orders. While it's leading a unit, so this unit could be affected by 2 orders at the same time. That's really cool. So you could do like take cover and take aim. So you could raise their save characteristic and their ballistic skill. Hold that objective and shoot better. It's a no-brainer, right? It's a really good combo. It's a really great way to run your units. So I would encourage Creed. I would encourage a Castellan. I would encourage the Primaris Psyker. Try all these things out. It depends on how you want to build your list and how you want to build your overall strategy for your army. I typically prefer the Castellan with the command squad, but you could do it differently. And I think the Primaris Psyker is a really great way to go if you want to make sure you get that one hardy unit in the middle of the table holding down objectives. Now, there's a good point to make that Krieg do it better. They're more resilient, right? But the thing about Cadians, they have more objective control. They have more objective control, and so they're going to hold objectives better, and that's one of the reasons why you may want to take them over Krieg in your games when you're talking about holding down the fort. But Krieg do have a better feel no pain, and they get better bonuses once they get wounded. So they do actually decently well as a frontline infantry unit. But the Cadians hold better. That's the thing you need to remember. You need to hold objectives. This is your unit to pull it off. So with that, that concludes my review of the Cadian shock troops. This is why this is my preferred way to play. This is my preferred battle line unit and my preferred loadout that you're looking at right here for these units. Now, the grenade launcher and plasma gun are also good. You don't have to go with the Militarum flamer like I'm doing. You don't have to go the drum-fed auto gun. Build them however you want. Build them in a way that works for your army. I need more armor penetration and I also need more anti-troop. Right there, I do it. I do it in this list. I also think it's viable to just run all las guns. You get all the bonuses for those las guns, right? With the sustained hits ability and the rapid fire ability, that really can pay off. And you can get a lot of shots out there, especially with lethal hits and you're just sitting still. You're going to get better range than your flamer and melta guns. And so you're going to be super effective from 24 inches away, just sitting still with this unit if you take all las guns. So that's viable too. What I'm trying to stress is, think about what you want to have fun with and build that into your Cadian shock troops. Build that into all your infantry squads, honestly. Your Krieg, your Cadian, Cadian, you don't get any weapon options. And your shock troops here. Just build them any way you want and have fun with it and just put the weapons in there that fit your overall strategy. But these are the tactics and the strategies that I use personally and the things that I can't recommend enough for the Cadians. So, if you have any questions or if you think I've got anything wrong, feel free to put it down in the comments below. One thing I also just want to ask, and I want to stress again, is that these movement trays are available from Squad Marks. And because you are watching my videos, you can click in the link below, use the discount code, and get a discount on your set of clear movement trays. Look how great these look. I mean, when you put these out on the table, they just blend right into your battle mats. I got a table war mat right here. They look great and I think help keep you in the game, and they look nice. So they're magnetic. I have little magnets on the bottom of my troops. I also number my squads in case you want to know what that is. And look, it just clicks right on. I love it. So when a troop dies, I can just lay it down, right? And I know, oh, yep, I lost a troop that round, just in case that matters for any reason during the game and the rules thereof. Or say if a whole 5-man section gets wiped out, I can grab a whole movement tray, just take it right off the table. I really like it and highly recommend these too. Also, if you want a great backdrop like this, go to tablewar.com and check out the macro mat. That's what's in the background, and this is actually one of the mats they make that go inside the carry trays that they get with the partner company that they work with to make those cool carry trays that they have. But you can get this cool backdrop here, also at tablewar.com. So Squad Marks, Table War, highly recommend their stuff. Highly recommend the Cadian shock troops, even more though. So definitely check them out. Put them into your army today and have fun. With that, that's another review. Really appreciate you all watching these. Please check out my other ones to see what I think about the Scout Sentinels, the Rogaldorn, and any of the other cool units that we like to run here in the Astra Militarum. So have fun wargaming, and as always, Cadia stands.